power. Money in the power. We can talk about that for hours.
I don't know.
He's sweet and I'm sour. Welcome back, everybody, to, to the show by Below Average Betters for Below Average Betters. I'm Noah Baker, the man on my right, DJ Dami, DJ
D-Dog.
DJ Dami, Two Gloves. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Anyway.
it's good to be back here, Dominic. Here for another betting breakdown for UFC Vegas 50. Ankalaev, Santos. Flip that. Santos versus Ankalaev. Dominic, how are you feeling about this one? Coming off a very hot week. How are you feeling going in?
Yeah, we had a very big week last week, especially we'll get into that in just a second. I'm feeling confident going into this card. This is a great card from top to bottom, just from a viewing perspective, but there is good value on this card. We've got another big bet slip, I believe 9. Last week was 10, so we're coming out swinging back-to-back weeks. I'm excited, Noah, to make some money. I believe you are too.
Yeah, I'm coming off my biggest week so far in the show. If you want to go ahead and pull it up, we'll go ahead and talk about UFC 272 for a second. I mean, it was the week I needed, Dominic. I mean, I've had some winning weekends, a couple small ones here and there, but so far my approach has kind of shot myself in the foot. Ultimately, I've been doing this. I've been throwing a lot at the wall, see what sticks. What am I good at? Am I good at in my prop bets? Is that where I'm most successful? Is it on the finish bets? Is that where I'm most successful? Is it on Moneyline? Like, where am I? Am I good at picking underdogs? Like, where am I getting my value from? And really, if I'm being honest, even coming off a great week for me, truthfully, I'm not sure if I found that answer yet, which in some ways is a failure.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lot of mix, man. I mean, really, it's just, I think my biggest problem is I need to go with my head, my brain. I need to really just think with my brain, not my heart here. Like, just, I'm thinking too much about throwing a bunch of stuff on here so that people watching will, enjoy it or at least have a bunch of picks to choose from. But they're not really picks that I'm like 100% sold on. And I'm throwing away money.
Right.
Nobody wants to do that.
Amen.
So I'm still throwing a few out a week, but it's now these are like the best of the best, like the ones that I feel most confident in.
Yes.
100% confidence. So it was a good weekend to start that. Did you have any thoughts about the way things shaped up?
I suck at parlays again. I thought I was getting better at them, and then I went 0 for 2 on this
We
week.
went 1 for 4 on parlays. Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the parlays were a stinker, man, but you did hit a plus 2.21 units, which is big. We did great on the singles over there on the right side of the screen. As you can see, hit every single one of them, plus 2 units on Nikolai. So we did have a good week. I'm upset at myself with the parlays. Truthfully, though, like for my banger parlay, 2 out of the 3 didn't hit, so I felt a little bit better about myself. The Moneyline parlay was the one that really stunk because Umar got the win. Holland got the win, and Agapova, I thought she was going to get it. She bounced back in the first and looked a little better, but then got destroyed in the second round. So overall, it was tough losing the parlays, but damn it, Noah, I came out personally on the bright side of the track, so I'm taking this momentum into UFC Vegas 50. I'm excited.
That makes 5 straight plus weeks for you. Is that correct?
Yes, true.
Yeah, I hope I didn't just set some bad mojo. Like when the broadcaster talks about the no-hitter in the 5th inning.
Right.
Hopefully that ain't what's happening here. But I will say there was a little luck on our side. I mean, we put 2 units on Nikolai, and neither of us scored that fight for him. I think we both scored it a draw.
Yeah.
The scorecards were weird on that one. And then the Marina Rodriguez fight was both huge for us. You put a single on it. I had it in my parlay that hit. That was a very close fight with Yan Xiaonan. Could have easily went the other way.
Yeah.
So we had a little luck on our side. But, we've had some bad luck, especially me, in my opinion, up to this point. So it's about time. Score 1 for the good guys.
Amen, right?
But I guess let's get into the main event money line for this week.
Let's do it.
And a lopsided one at that. I believe this is not the most. We did have Bobby Green, Islam Makhachev, but
yeah,
up there for the most lopsided odds. Thiago Santos plus 435, even though he's considered the A side here, higher ranked opponent, minus 600
Woo.
for the young Magomed Ankalaev. You know, Ankalaev has really been a guy that's gone under the radar.
Yeah.
So for me, when I looked at these odds, I was actually surprised, even though I agree with them. But I was shocked that the general public and obviously Vegas, the odds are representing that right now because Thiago Santos has fought for a title.
Yep.
He's been in a lot of main events. Yes, I know coming off a string of lackluster performances, even though he's coming off a win, didn't really feel like one. And Ankalaev has only lost once in his UFC career. It was his debut against Paul Craig. So he's been pretty incredible outside of that.
Yes.
But he just hasn't had the stage that
Exactly.
Thiago Santos has had. So I'm glad that people are at least buying into Ankalaev, but it almost feels like now it's starting to swing in the other direction where I'm like, whoa, 6-1. I mean, he's really good, but it's not one that I'm kind of hesitant to get involved with this fight because Thiago Santos could just run it back. Maheta might still be in there, Dominic.
You never know, man. You never know. He has that equalizer in the past. We just haven't seen it lately, and that's what worries me the most with Thiago here, being that big underdog. Magomed, good everywhere, right? He's super well-rounded. He showed that throughout his win streak here, 7 in a row that he's on. The only loss, like Noah said, was in his UFC debut, and he debuted against Paul Craig. I mean, welcome to the UFC, bud. So ever since then, he's looked great. This is his biggest test. It's his first main event. But that minus 600 says it all. He's got the momentum. He's, again, good everywhere. He's got good power. He's got good striking, but he can always fall back on that phenomenal, Dagestani-style wrestling on the mat, too. And we've seen Santos struggle a lot on the mat, especially the first that comes to mind is that fight with Glover Teixeira, where he looked good in multiple moments, but as soon as it went down to the floor, he had no answers, man. So if he comes in with that same approach here against Magomed, where he's kind of looking to finish him early on the feet and then kind of gasses or lets his guard down, Magomed could easily take advantage of this, ride out to a decision, a late finish. So a lot of upside here for Magomed being that big favorite. And as we know, with a line like that, it's hard to get him involved into that below average bet slip later on.
Yeah, that's very true. We had to get a little creative, of course, to get involved in that one. Now let's move on to the pick'em fight of the week. This is the fight that, as of now, Wednesday evening, have the closest odds in a true pick'em it is as Damon Jackson and Kamuela Kirk. Let us know if that's how you really pronounce the man's name. I'm over here talking like this man's the vice president of the United States. But they're both minus 110. So it's a true pick'em in every sense of the word. Now, for you, Dominic, you evaluate this matchup. Does it feel like a 50-50 fight, or are you kind of more clearly leaning one way or the other?
It does, actually, because I was looking at this for the bet slip later on, trying to think, is there something here? Because Damon Jackson's been in some really fun scraps. He's got a lot of finishes.
Underrated fighter. Underrated guy.
Very tough, gritty guy. He just fought Charles Rosa. That was a phenomenal fight there. For Kirk, don't know as much about him. He's from the Contender Series, but he lost on that show. He is 1-0 inside the UFC. The experience advantage goes to Jackson as well. The just competition overall goes to Jackson. So when you look at all that, you think, why is Jackson not, a sizable favorite here, or at least not a pick'em with dead even odds? And I think it's just maybe the upside of Kirk is a little bit higher. He's the younger guy. He is on a 3-fight win streak. He's finished 11 out of 12 fights. This could be a super fun back and forth, gritty, dirty little bit of a scrap here, Noah.
Dare I say, one of the reasons why Kirk, I think, is kind of found himself lining up with Damon Jackson is, even though Jackson's had a decent UFC run and he's been around longer, Kirk probably has the best win in the UFC between the two of them. He was coming off a win over Makwan Amirkhani.
True, yeah, true.
So I also think there's something to the stylistic matchup. See, I look at the more well-roundedness of Kamuela Kirk. He's younger, 27 years old. 5 wins via knockout or TKO. 6 wins via submission. So I think he has the defense to sort of... it's hard. Damon Jackson's so slick with submissions that it's not really a battle I think Kirk's going to want to get into. But I think his weapon here is going to be on the feet, truthfully. And I think Kirk has the defense to sort of... it's hard. Damon Jackson's so slick with submissions that it's not really a battle I think Kirk's going to want to get into. But I think his weapon here is going to be on the feet, truthfully. And I think Kirk has the defense to sort of... it's not really a battle I think Kirk's going to want to get into. But I think his weapon here is going to be on the feet, truthfully. And since he is so good at submissions, I feel like there's also perhaps a skill that allows him to avoid getting taken into that area. You know, he could be on his feet maybe more often. And Damon Jackson's chin has been tested in the past. He has fallen short to the KO before, and I think here with Kirk it could happen again. Or again, it could be a decision. I think this fight could go. It truly does feel like a 50-50 fight. I just think you're probably leaning a little bit more Jackson.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning just a little bit more Kirk. So it's 50-50. There we go.
There you go.
One and one right there.
Exactly.
Moving on from that, we got the dog of the week.
We're making history right here, Noah, for the
Yes, we are.
Nosebleeds.
So this part of the show is where me and Dominic, we go through the card, look at the money line, and see who on the underdogs are we like most confident in getting a victory here. You know, that's a lot of value when you go for an underdog.
Yeah.
If you just for them to win outright, doesn't matter if it's a DQ win.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, people put money on Aljamain Sterling back in the day were probably happy when he got that belt. You know?
Yeah.
But for this week, the reason why we're making history is because me and Dominic have the same dog of the week. And it probably pains me a little bit more than it pains Dom because that is a guy that I'm a big fan of, Terrence McKinney, who's stepping up on short notice. That's why he is the underdog here. And also because he's going against a guy who's really raised his value as of late, and that's Drew Dober, even in losses. I mean, he had a really close fight with Brad Riddell, who's now in the top 15. And, of course, was kind of the first real top 15-ish test for Islam Makhachev, who, of course, Makhachev passed in flying colors. And that fight really has been the one, that Makhachev fight really stuck with me when it came to evaluating this matchup. And I know Terrence McKinney, as far as the wrestling, the submission abilities, he's really like as good a power as he has in the hands.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably better as a wrestler, as a submission grappler. Obviously, there's a big difference from him right now to Islam Makhachev.
Of course.
But seeing the deficiencies in the game for Dober, the less confidence he had when he went to the ground, when he was on his back. He got submitted in an arm triangle that was or a head and arm choke, and it was on the wrong side that you normally finish it on. So a lot of that's attributed to how good Islam is, but also Dober fell into that. He had to submit to that. So I think that's the difference maker. I think if this fight stays standing, funny enough, I think I actually side with Dober.
Yeah.
I would say McKinney has more power. I mean, again, we've not seen a ton of him, but if you even look at his resume in the LFA, I mean, this guy never goes out of the first round.
Yeah.
But I think Dober has the better chin. His durability is why I side with him. Don't get me wrong, McKinney's got the power to put him away, but you look at the amount of shots Dober took against Riddell and didn't even seem all that phased or wobbled at times. And
such an underrated fight, that is.
Yeah, it really is. And Drew Dober is an underrated fighter. I still stand by him. His record's not the cleanest. He's on a tough streak as of late, but and unfortunately, I'm kind of betting on it to continue. But it's just a really the momentum is all on McKinney right now. He's riding a wave of positive momentum. Just won 2 weeks ago, first round submission over Faris Ziam. And he's calling his shot. He's saying, hey, I'm going to be champion by the end of next year. Obviously, if he's going to do that, he's got to get started. And here with Drew Dober, it just seems like a necessary hill he's going to have to pass over.
Yeah, this is the test for Terrence McKinney, let alone the fact that he is coming in on less than 2 weeks' notice to fight one of the toughest dudes in this division, who's been there with newcomers, been there with veterans, who is well-rounded everywhere. I love where you go, you're leaning toward Dober on the feet. That's an interesting point to make, but it's not one that's outlandish because he is just so damn durable that can McKinney's power really affect him? If McKinney comes in here and finishes Drew Dober, what a statement that would be. But I said this on the preview. I'm going to say it here now for the dog of the week and the nosebleeds, that if McKinney wins this, I think we are going to get to see the most of him that we've gotten to see so far in the UFC cage. I think we're going to get to see him get battle-tested, face adversity here against Dober. But all in all, man, as the dog of the week, I'm going with him, and I'm going to talk about him again here in just a second.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. With the below average bet slip, we both picked him to be the dog of the week and make it 2 for 2. 2 units will be placed on Terrence McKinney money line plus 150
Yep.
for this card. Me and Dominic both riding with the young spark plug that
I
is
like that.
Terrence McKinney. So, Dominic, I know we just kind of gave our thoughts on Terrence McKinney, but I'll let you go ahead and go into your next play for this week.
Yeah, so right there, Terrence McKinney, obviously, as Noah said, bet number 2. I'm going with my man, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, Super Sadiq Youssef. I'm going with him to win by decision. It's plus 140 over Alex Caceres. I think that's really good value. Listen, Youssef has power. He's a great striker, very technical, very precise. But half of his wins have come via decision. And for Caceres, he's super durable. He's kind of good everywhere, uses his range good. So while I'm going with Youssef to win, I don't think it's going to come easy. He's going to have to close that distance. He's going to have to get in his range. But when he does, I think he's going to find it and stick to it for 15 minutes. Not be able to put Caceres away, but very confident in a decision win for Super Sadiq. Get back into the win column.
I like the confidence. I too have some confidence in Sadiq Yusuf. Didn't do the same bet, but I'll get into it. But I kind of, in a way, I'm riding on him to at least go to a decision. And,
Yes.
and if not, if Caceres wins by finish, it's going to be a tough night for me, as your guys are about to find out. But I have one more single play and then 3 parlays as well.
Woo.
So I'll start with that single women's fight. JJ Aldrich, excuse me, Jillian Roberson. I have their fight to go the distance. A little dangerous. Jillian Roberson, great submissions.
Yes.
JJ Aldrich, I could see her trying to take this fight to the ground, try to hold that top control. Roberson's dangerous off her back.
She's
but
good.
I do think this fight ultimately will go to distance. Again, with women's fights, really it's not even just a 50-50 chance. A lot of times it's more skewed in the decision realm. So to get plus odds, plus 100, essentially a dollar for a dollar,
Yeah.
I couldn't really pass it up with this one. And
Right.
it's a bet that if I lose, I would say was still money well placed. So I like the chances for that one.
Yeah, I like that, Noah. And two, it could pair right into my third bet because I've got Jillian Roberson to win with a double chance. So by submission or decision, it's minus 110. So it's a little on the negative, but
It's good. It's good though.
oh,
It's good
oh, oh,
odds.
oh, so close to even money. And listen, if she gets that decision, that's money for both of us, right? So I'm okay there. If a submission happens, I'll be happy. No, it won't. But again, I think it's a good bet. I think there's value there. I've had this feeling all day that she's gonna get this win. She typically goes where she'll lose a couple, she'll win a couple. She won her last fight, but before that lost 2, but to great
Looked great in
competition.
her last fight against
Yes.
Priscilla Cachoeira, by
Yes,
the way.
and finished her, which I think says a ton.
While her eyes were being gouged out.
Also very true. So for all those reasons alone, I really like Jillian here. She's got the UFC record or ties for most submissions in female history there. So I like Jillian, 26 years old. I think we've not yet seen the best of her in her really long UFC career she's already had.
Yeah, so now to the first of my 3 parlays. I'm starting with some of the early prelims here, trying to show them some love. Unfortunately, when we placed these bets, when we did this show, we didn't quite have the prop bets available for these 2 fights. So probably wouldn't exactly be the direction I would go, at least for one of these 2 fights, but I'm cool with it anyways. I'm still going to go with it. So overall, this 2-leg parlay is going to see the opening bout Inchukwi Mirzakhanov to go over 1.5 rounds. 2 guys that we're still trying to figure out what to make of them. Tafon Inchukwi's had I would say, inconsistent performances up to this point. He's looked really good at times, and then he's looked a little sluggish also.
Yeah.
His opponent, Mirzakhanov, 35 years old, fought for Brave CF. He, I believe, is coming from the Contender Series, looked good on there, but making a debut at 35. He does have a high finishing rate. Both guys do have a decent finishing rate, but for me, I think it's going to go over a round and a half. I think that, I don't know a lot about Mirzakhanov's style, obviously, but for Nchukwi, he doesn't tend to come out super aggressive. I mean, he's kind of a slow starter.
Right.
So I'm sort of depending on that to kind of carry it into the later rounds. And then the second leg is going to be the next fight. Chris Moutinho's back. I
Back.
mean, he's the one that fought Sugar Sean O'Malley, the green hair guy. The guy,
Yeah, right.
the guy who took an absolute beating but never went down. So obviously, Moutinho going up against Guido Canetti, another durable opponent, even though he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
I think this fight goes over 2.5 rounds. I probably would have put on it to go to distance if that was available,
Right.
but
Right.
that's okay. So with those two legs, it comes out to plus 182. I think very solid for both of those. For Moutinho, Canetti, kind of depend on the durability of both guys.
Yeah.
Really, Moutinho, I know there's some people that really are excited for him or maybe riding on him, as a favorite here, putting a lot of money on him just to win outright.
I
But
feel like I've seen a lot of it.
I mean, let's be honest, the guy is getting a lot of respect for the amount of punishment he could take, not necessarily what he could distribute. So
Right.
still a lot unknown about him. I thought he should have went down to flyweight. He's a little undersized in this bantamweight division, but he is going up against a over the hill Guido Canetti who is still able to take a punch, but hasn't quite been able to, keep beating UFC level competition on a consistent basis. So
Right.
could be a really fun scrap considering both guys' deficiencies, but I still think it goes over that 2.5 round mark plus 182.
I like that one, Noah. My fourth and final, and this is a 2-leg parlay. I'm looking to bounce back, man. I went 0-2 last week. I'm having a game of runs with the parlay so far. This week, I'm speaking it into existence. It's coming out to plus 100. Listen, it's plus money. That's all that matters, people.
Yeah,
So-
hey man, don't.
and I love the
disrespect
way
it,
I've had a couple of these where they've played out with big odds and it comes out to plus money. I love it so much. I'm going firstly, Miranda Maverick to win by decision. I think she's going to bounce back. She's taking this fight on short notice against Mazo, but I think it's a chance for her to bounce back. As I said, she's on that 2-fight skid, but she arguably beat Macy Barber. We both believe she won that fight. And then the last one she had against Aaron Blanchfield, that one did show me a lot of flaws in her game. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
I mean, I think it showed a lot more about Aaron Blanchfield, though.
Exactly. So I still believe in Maverick. She's still super young. She's super strong, super tough. I think she bounces back and gets the win. In the second leg, this fight's just unbelievable. The odds suck, but hey, when you put it in the parlay, it works. Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva. This fight does not go the distance. Pair that together, it's plus 100. That fight's unreal. Two guys that have finished nearly every fight they've been in. They don't know what grappling is. They stand up and brawl. That's what this is going to be. Stay tuned and fasten your seatbelts for that one.
I mean, is that your most confident pick right there? Is that one? Like, I know it's in a parlay, but I mean, is that like the one you are probably the most confident in?
Yes, I mean, people that alone, if you took it out of the parlay, it's minus 650. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, so that says a lot right there. My second parlay, a couple of real sleeper, one fight that's definitely, I think, going to surprise a lot of people, and then one where I still think will be a lot of fun. We start with Matthew Semmelsberger and AJ Fletcher. Matthew Semmelsberger has had some he's on a good run right now, but
Yes.
he's been one of those guys that he's gotten finished pretty quickly, but he's also quickly finished his opponents. AJ Fletcher, on the other hand, making his UFC debut officially after his win on the Contender Series. Another guy who, on the regional circuit, was knocking out a lot of people, but not in the highest level of regional promotions. He did look good on the Contender, but I do think there's a lot unknown about these two and how they'll face off, how they'll match up with one another. But I am predicting this fight to not go the distance. That's the first leg. Second leg, Sadiq Youssef, Alex Caceres. Dominic talked a lot about his love for Sadiq, and while I definitely tend to lean Sadiq in this matchup, I've been wrong about Caceres before, and Caceres is riding a good winning streak. He's been active. He's looked very good. He's had to fight through some adversity. The Sung Woo Choi fight was a good example that you guys should check out if you haven't. Sadiq Youssef not as active as I think he probably should be, but I still think this fight goes the distance. That's the second leg. Sadiq either guy. Like, I just have a hard time seeing this fight get finished either way.
Right,
You know,
right.
Caceres typically, if he gets finished, is via submission, which I
Yes.
don't really see Sadiq doing that. even though Caceres did get rocked on the feet against Sung Woo Choi, but he was ultimately able to come back and get I believe, submission win
He
in that
did.
one.
Yep.
So, there's something there, but I'm not confident enough. Sadiq is so patient that that's kind of what costed him an Arnold Allen fight in a way, was that he just wasn't really quite ever able to pull that trigger enough or often enough to get those striking numbers to weigh more on his side. So because of that, I just think that both guys will go to a decision, but I could see Sadiq getting a 30-27, or I could see this being a really underrated fight that Caceres somehow squeezes out. I could see it going either way, but to go to distance is what I'm confident in. Comes out to plus 136, the least of my three, but one that I would probably say I'm the most confident in this one.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I would say. And finally, Moneyline parlay,
Here it
4
is.
legs.
This is the biggest parlay we've had.
It's risky. It really is. I mean, I don't usually like to go above 3 legs for parlays. I typically think your chances go down drastically after 3. I mean, really, even 3 is kind of pushing it for me. I mean, I love parlays. Love it, but
they're dangerous.
Doing this many legs is not something. It's like Nemo going to touch the butt. So,
yes,
you're straying out a little too far, right?
Yeah.
However,
you're touching the butt.
I tried to limit this to 3. I had 4 money line plays here, and I was like, I want to bring it to 3, but I couldn't pick someone I was like less confident in. Like, I feel really confident.
Well, that's a good thing then.
Yes, I agree. So I was like, well, I might as well just go for it.
Right.
So at 4 money line plays, Miranda Maverick, Javid Basharat, Sadiq Yusuf, and Magomed Ankalaev.
Yeah.
Those 4, all favorites in their respective bouts, comes out to plus 266. I believe if this hits, it would be the biggest parlay to hit on our show as well. I think it would surpass the one last week. I believe last week's was like plus.
It was plus 221.
Yeah, so I think that was the biggest. I think this one would surpass that. Look, I understand there is some variables here. Miranda Maverick, short notice. How is she going to look coming off 2 straight losses? I don't know a ton about Sabina Mazo, but haven't been all that impressed up to this point. But a young fighter that I think the UFC has seen potential in. She's been in tough. She fought Macy Barber once upon a time. Javid Basharat's probably the one that people would be most surprised by. He's making his debut officially.
Tough debut.
Off the Contender Series, going up against Trevin Jones, who's a good fighter. I was just so impressed with Basharat on the Contender Series. And I've been wrong about this before. My very first bet I placed on the show was Joseph Holmes by finish. Similar situation going up against, forget the guy's name, who lost in that co-main to Kyle Dawkins, Jamie Pickett.
Yes.
Jamie Pickett, a guy I wasn't very high on, and then Joseph Holmes really didn't look very good. So it's obviously a jump up to UFC competition, but Basharat looked so good, so composed, considering he's the fighter that had the ethnic slur thrown at him by his opponent in the face-off. So I think that I think he's got the tools to get this one done. It's definitely risky, but he is the favorite. And then obviously I said what I needed to say about Sadiq Yusuf and Magomed Ankalaev. It's, again, I have respect to Alex Caceres for the run he's been on. Thiago Santos is like one of my favorite fighters in the light heavyweight division. For him, for Santos, I don't think he's the fighter that he's not the guy that I've fell in love with when he fought John Jones. Like that fighter I don't think is in him anymore.
Right.
Truthfully, that's how I feel. I think I think that leg injury where in that fight, where the fight that raised his stock so much, it's so unfortunate that he had to go through over a year recovery of a torn every CL in the leg.
Yeah.
And it honestly just compromised, I think, what was looking like perhaps the best run of his career at that point. And for Caceres, I just think this is he's had a good run, good win streak, but it's a big jump up from Sungwoo Choi to Sadiq Yusuf.
Right. I like it.
So I think that's it, Dominic. That's a lot of plays for you guys. Let us know what plays you're picking this week. Are there any big props on display? We've seen some really interesting bets going around. All of our odds, all of our plays are being put on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So let us know if there's any. I've seen some of these other sportsbook has some really crazy prop bets.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys are finding out there. You can do that by leaving a voice message. If you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_, there's a link to the link tree, which presents you a list of links to all the platforms, podcasts, along with social media platforms. So that includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, and Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there. And then the podcast sponsor, Anchor, has a couple links that, one, being the voice message. If you want to vocalize your thoughts, have them featured on the show, you can do that there. Any plays that you place that hit, what kind of tickets do you got? You guys can always send us DMs on Twitter with the tickets that are cashing for you. We'll feature them on the show.
Yeah.
Any that missed barely, oof, I always
Hey,
hate
we've
those.
been there.
I remember I saw someone who picked every fight right on the fight night a couple weeks ago, except they had Ji-Yeon Kim instead of Priscilla Cachoeira. You know how much that hurt me?
Oh, I know your thoughts on that one.
I got real angry about that fight.
Yeah.
But also a link on there if you want to become a financial supporter of the show. Any and all support is appreciated. We promise we won't use that money for gambling purposes.
Right.
Now, Dominic, you give your piece, and then let's get out of here.
Of course. Well, first off, I guess you guys are watching this on YouTube because it's exclusive to that platform, I should say. So be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed this, comment below, subscribe to the channel. If you want to interact with us, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at DSLE14. More importantly, be with the show. Send us messages. As Noah said, we'll share it on the Nosebleeds here. If you want to be a part of the podcast, we can share stuff over there too. Be sure to check that out as well. But you can find us at BAJ_MMA podcast.
All right, Dominic. So I'm Noah Baker. That's Dominic Salee.
This is true.
We're the Below Average Joes.
Damn right.
And we'll see you next Friday.